We might be live. Let me know if we're live. Let me open this doc right here. I think we're live. This is Coffee with Frankie. This is the coffee. I'm the Frankie. We do have breaking news as we come on the air here on FSPN. It's 10 a.m. on the East Coast, January 25th, 2026. If you can hear me in the chat, let me know. Uh, There's Phil Adams. There's Mr. Venom. And we are live. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. We'll get into the breaking news as of 4 minutes to go. Also waiting for this loud and clear. Okay, we're good. So I'm just waiting for the studio app to tell me how many people are here. Jojo is here. Sachetti's here. Hank G is here. Big Green is here. The perks. Well, I'll tell you, Big Green, you get lots of exclusive items. I post exclusive information on the posts. So if you're in the, if you're a new member, we're getting quite a few new members. Check the posts section of this web page. You know, on YouTube, they have a tab. It's called Posts, and I post a bunch of stuff there, but a lot of it's just for the members. And in addition to that, you get all of the college quarterback grades I did this year. You get all of the drive chart information I did this year for every game. You get lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. James Thompson's here. Hi, Karate's here. All right, so everybody seems to be here. Stacky's here. He's a member. We got to appreciate the members. And eventually, YouTube is going to wise up, and they're going to provide an option where on your videos you can have only the members comment. Right now, there's an option for subscribers and members, but I think, or just have everybody or nobody, I think it would be a nice member perk to let the members comment on videos and nobody else. And eventually YouTube's going to wise up and go, yeah, that's a good idea. Duncan Lloyd is here. BBA is here. Venom's here. B. Trav is here. Mother effing snowing again. Yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge storm all across America. It's 70 degrees and sunny here in Central Florida. Going up to 85 this afternoon. So if you're stuck in the snow, I tried to warn you. Todd is here. And Big Green, welcome to the Inner Square. All right. Thank you, Big Green. I would encourage folks to get to join up, join the Inner Square. I would say probably the $2 level is where it's at for most people. If you want to give more, there's a $5 level. But probably most people, the value is probably at $2 a month. Chris Havern is here. Yeah, beautiful day in Central Florida. I don't know what these people are talking about with snow and hail and rain and ice and getting snowed in for 5 days. And, hey, it's a beautiful day here. The Dodester is here. Stuck in the snow in Delaware. Dodes is a member. He's also a SUNY New Paltz legend, like old Frankie. But he's a legend as far as rugby's concerned. Joe Mike is here. All right, a lot of people showing up. Well, we do have breaking news that affects the Jets. Per Tom Pelissero 4 minutes ago, Tom Mucho Dinero Pelissero says a big hire for the Packers. What? The Packers have hired Jonathan Gannon for defensive coordinator. So, this is big news for the Jets. Why is that? Well, the logical fit for the Packers was going to be Jimmy Leonard. But why is that? Because he's from Wisconsin. Born and raised in Wisconsin, went to high school Wisconsin, college Wisconsin, coached Wisconsin. So this guy is a Wisconsinner. And everybody thought, well, obviously Leonard to the Packers, that makes a lot of sense. Go back home. Jet beat writers are not talking about this yet for some reason. So, but this is, I think, big news because we're hearing that Wink Martindale might be the favorite for the Jets, but he might have been the favorite because Jim Leonard was thought for sure going to the Packers. Now, with this going on, Jonathan Gannon just announced 12 minutes ago or thereabouts. Now, Gannon's going there. And so maybe we could get Jimmy Leonard. So it opens up that possibility more than it was before. So that's a good thing. There's a lot of comments coming in. Good morning, RPM. Good morning, Todd. Yes, it's really coming down. A lot of snow here. Yeah, Todd, all across America. It's a big, big storm. It's called Fern, I believe. Big Green says, let's go. Dick Chimney Burner says, morning, Frankie. Morning, DC Burner. Dread Mad Scene. What can we get from the Titans? Not much. Clemens is a free agent. Stay Gold. Need Giants to name a DC. Hopefully it's not Leonard. Yeah, so there's no real ties with the Giants in Leonard. Harbaugh, I don't think he has any Harbaugh ties. The Harbonians, he'll probably hire a Harbonian, right? It seems like Harbaugh has said, I'm just going to bring in all the Ravens, basically make it Ravens North. Or, yeah. So he could go there. And yeah, now Leonard could go somewhere else. I mean, that's for sure. He's not a sure bet that he's going to come here. But he could go somewhere else, whether it's the Giants or elsewhere. He's going to have options, so it doesn't mean he's a shoo-in for us, but it definitely takes a big, big contender out of the way. So I think that's good. Todd, it's whiteout condition here, and that sitting still, if you're driving, won't see it all. Yeah, it's a big storm. It's a big news item. Everybody's talking about this storm. And we're sitting here in Central Florida, 71 degrees, sunshine, going up to 85 later this afternoon. It's a beautiful day here in Central Florida. Big Green, he doesn't want any more snow. Dick Chimney's Burner, welcome to the Inner Square. All right, Chimney. Now, you guys who are new, make sure you check the Posts tab where you get a lot of the information in written form and links. Leonard to the Jets would be wonderful, says Joe Mike. Yeah. Now, he could have been the favorite to beat the media. Now, the other thing we're hearing, and there's only one person reporting this, and it's Country Club Connor Hughes. Go. Connor Hughes, as of 9 hours ago, so he was up late last night. Among the names I've heard linked to the Jets as they search for a veteran play caller to add to their coaching staff, Frank Reich, the Third Reich. Tanner Engstrand, he goes on to say, is not expected to call plays in 2026 per sources. While the Jets are still determining his role, a new play caller is expected to be added to the staff. So if this is true, which I would expect it would be, because don't forget, Connor Hughes put out a character assassination tweet the other day warning the Jets, I will continue to character assassinate you unless you... Now, I didn't say this explicitly, but I will continue to character assassinate your asses unless you start leaking some information to me. This is called media blackmail. This is what these folks do. And then all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, he's getting information again and he's able to break news. It's frustrating, but it's the way of the world. That's what we live in. Now, so you might be wondering, well, Frank Reich, he is not a hot name. He's old, and there's a lot of ageists amongst football fans, of course. But you might wonder, what did he do recently? Here's how his offenses have ranked. I'm going to go from 2018 to 2022. When he was with the Indianapolis Colts, he was the head coach and the play caller. Before that, he was with the Eagles. He was not the play caller, even though he was the OC. So with the Colts, how did his offense do? Because he was the head coach and the play caller. All right. 2018, they had Andrew Luck. They ranked 5th in points per game. I'm just going to go off points per game. In 2019, so Luck does that unusual retirement. 2019, they have Jacoby Brissett. They placed 16th, so average with Jacoby Brissett. Then in 2020, they go to Philip Rivers. And with Old Man Rivers in 2020, they ranked 9th. Then in 20, they moved on from Rivers. 2021, they got Carson Wentz. And with Carson Wentz, they ranked 9th. 2022, they got old man Matt Ryan. They tried to make it work with Matt Ryan in 2022, and that did not work. They ranked 30th. They fell off, but that was because Ryan was basically done. He couldn't do it anymore, and he got fired. Then he went over in 2023 to the Carolina Panthers. He was the head coach and play caller again, but they had a rookie, Bryce Young, and he went 1-10 and got fired. And they were 30th in scoring, but they had a tiny little rookie named Bryce Young. And what's his name down there? The owner from Pittsburgh got meddlesome and said, we got to fire everybody. And he fired everybody. And then he's been out of the league since then. So a lot of people say, well, he's an ancient guy. He's not, he's too old. He's an ancient fossil. I mean, the man had 5th, 16th, 9th. As early or as recently as 2021, he had a top 10 offense with Carson Wentz. So, me personally, I don't mind Frank Reich at all. If you're going to tell me with a good quarterback we could have a top 5 offense, and with an okay quarterback we could have a top 10 offense, I'm going to take it. And if we have a terrible quarterback, then nobody can really do much with a terrible quarterback. Matt Ryan, that was his last year. He was falling apart. He was an old man. And then Bryce Young was a rookie, and he was tiny, and he was terrible. He had a Zach Wilson-esque rookie year. You're not going to do much with those people. But if you get him a functional quarterback, this guy could be good. I don't understand why anybody's negative about it, but people are going to tell you he's too old, he's a fossil, hey, this isn't good. I don't agree with that. Now, Country Club Connor's the only one who has this. Zach Rosenblatt's not confirming. Rub It In Rich Samini's not confirming. Nobody's confirming this. So, maybe true, maybe not true. I would tend to believe it. It does seem like Aaron Glenn is trying to get things onto the right track. Now, whether it's going to work or not is another story, but he's trying to get things on the right track with some steady hands, whether it's Wink Martindale or Frank Reich. So we could have the Blitz Maestro and the Third Reich here. And maybe to terrorize people. But I don't mind those hires if that's the way it goes. Myself, I think those are pretty decent hires. Now, it does speak to Aaron Glenn's, he made some mistakes. Let's put it for a rookie head coach, the man made a bunch of mistakes, including his initial hires. I mean, what are you going to do? We're the Jets. So that's the latest in the news. Jojo says, I think most fans prefer... Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Jojo. I can tell you from polls that I conducted on this channel, sometimes we have polls. So from the poll we conducted on this channel, it was 80% of the fans wanted Leonard. And also Dick Rub It In Rich Samini did a similar poll, and it was similar results. It was Leonard by a landslide. So the fans are all in for Leonard now, but most of the fans are stupid, though. Sorry if that's a secret. I mean, not the people in this chat. You guys are all above average. But, the fans at large are generally dumb. And so the young guy who's never done it before but is a hot name is always going to be better than the old guy who has been great and been okay and then had a few seasons where it wasn't that great. They're always going to want the hot young guy. That's just the way it is. There's really no evidence that Leonard knows what he's doing. He's never called defenses in the NFL before. Now, he is a hot name, and he is an up-and-comer, and everybody is rightfully, optimistic about what he could do. But there's no track record, whereas Wink does have a track record, and he does have times when he had a defense in the top 5 multiple times, top 10 multiple times, and he's never had one that was really terrible. And he turned around the Giants defense from worst in the league to like 21st, 22nd in terms of DVOA, and had a lot of turnovers. How about a lot of turnovers? That sound good to you? We had 4 last year. Cuatro. Not good. No bueno. 4 turnovers in 17 games is terrible. One of the worst of all time. Well, Wink Martindale, I think his last year with the Giants, they had 31 turnovers. 31. We had 4. See, cuatro. So you could say, these guys are fossils. They're old. I don't like them. But the fact of the matter is they've gotten results wherever they've been. And Wink Martindale comes with added benefit of having been at Michigan for 2 years, which is phenomenal. Because think of all the prospects and all the people he had to recruit, and then all the offenses he had to go against with all their young stars at Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon, and all the people they played. He had to study all these young prospects that are now either in the league or coming into the league. So I think that's a plus. But, people are ageist, and that's unfortunate, I think. Connor was working on his golf swing. Yeah. No. Wentz to the Jets. Yeah, let's hope not. I don't think that's going to be the case. Now, here's the other thing. B-Trav says Reich would be a good hire. All right, there's a reasonable take. I think the Jets are trying with good reputations as an enticement for quarterbacks. Now, I'll tell you something else that no one else will tell you, and that's one of the reasons you should subscribe to this channel. You get information here that you don't get anywhere else, and I'm about to, as soon as I go through these comments, I'm going to tell you what that is if I don't forget. Spin Max Dave is here. He's a member. And you should also join the Inner Circle or the Inner Square. Jim Leonard would give me optimism. Sunshine Salami's here. He's a member. Yeah, worst ever. Well, there you go. Now, no bueno. Like I said, no bueno. So how about getting a guy who can get you 31 turnovers like a Wink Martindale? Oh, no, he's too old. Oh, no. Can't have that. Can't have a guy with experience who knows what he's doing. Whatever podcaster mentioned this, tell him to go fuck himself. How about that? We don't want Jason Garrett anywhere near us. Greetings from Snowy. Yeah. Nowhere to go but up defensively. Now, here's the other thing about Frank Reich. So when I put out the poll for what are our options? Should we take Simpson and, but the best combo, the ones that got the most votes in the poll were sign Willis and take Simpson in round 2 if he's available. It was like, what mix of quarterbacks should we have? It was that type of poll. And the mix option that people liked the most was sign Willis, take Simpson in round 2 if he's available. And the number 2 option was sign Cousins and take Simpson in round 2 if he's available there. So, and that seems to be, those are probably the 2 most attractive free agent options. And then you take the young guy in round 2 if he falls to you. All right, great. But you're not chancing a first round pick on him while you get some dudes on defense in the first round, right? Well, here's the thing about Willis and Cousins and Frank Reich. They are all very devout Christians. And so if we had Reich on staff, I think from that perspective, they would say, all right, here's a steady hand. Guy has had top 10 defenses pretty consistently when he was calling plays and when he had a decent quarterback. And on top of that, a devout Christian just like me, they would say, okay, sounds good. So that's an enticement. I mean, it doesn't hurt. And plus, so's Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn also started the Bible study class for guys who wanted to do that. That's like a personal development aspect that the Jets provide. So there's that aspect. of trying to lure in somebody to right the ship, because I think the common theme with all these things that Glenn is doing now, I think he's just trying to get the goddamn train on the goddamn tracks. We got to get this thing moving forward in a positive direction. I think he knows that he needs kind of like a sure thing, as sure a thing as he can find out there. I think that's what he's trying to do. And because I think he now knows the fans are not going to put up with this. Fans are very toxic right now, as we all know. So I think that's what's going on. So that's an interesting sort of side aspect of the Reich news that maybe you didn't know, maybe you weren't aware of. But all three of those guys who are probably, all the two free agents plus him, if they have that in common, that could sway it one way or the other. Because we're going to have to compete for these guys. Some teams are going to want Willis. He's going to have kind of a fascinating market if you think about it. He's played well, but only in a handful of games since he moved to Green Bay. They played poorly as a rookie in Tennessee. But, how much are you going to pay for 6 games started, even though he did very well? I don't know. So, Spot Track has him at 10.6. Seems a little low to me. I'm thinking more 13, 14, 15 range. Somebody in the last live stream said there was a Yahoo article that said 20. We couldn't find that article, but nonetheless, maybe it could go up to 20. With the shortage of quarterback talent out there, these teams go crazy for quarterbacks. So, going to be a fascinating market. And so, the more things that you can use to convince the agent and the player that this is the place for you, the better. Money is going to be the first thing, but then beyond that, it's going to be, all right, what kind of plays are we calling? What kind of team do you have around me? What do you got? Hit the like button, yeah. Don't be a jabroni. Don't be a snowed-in phony. Hit the like button. Like button really helps. Would appreciate the old milk thumbs. It kind of tells YouTube that this is the kind of content you want. The Frankie differentiated FSPN angle instead of some of the brain-dead content that's out there. More than Justin Fields. Yeah, so Fields was like a 10% chance of working, and it didn't work out. Now, I do think we can still trade for Fields. Move this chair down a little. Sometimes you got to alter your stance when you're doing live streams. Jojo, are the Joe Judge rumors real? Where are you guys getting these fucking rumors? What media people are you listening to? Joe Judge, what are you, crazy? Like, you need to, I'll put it this way. You really shouldn't listen to anybody but our Jet Beat writers. Now, the Jet Beat writers, you gotta kind of know how to read them. You can't just take everything they say for granted that it's true. It takes a little bit of discernment, and you got to filter it, which is where Frankie comes in. I filter it for the members when it's important, by the way. But if it's not coming from them, and it's not coming from the national writers, I don't know. There's very few other people to trust, because there's a lot of people out in the media that just throw shit out there to get clicks and to get listens and to get everything else. I would not think Joe Judge is a realistic candidate. Keep it simple, RC. Frank Reich comes to the Jets. Does that change the negative perception surrounding this coaching search? No, I think because most people would say no, he's too old and, he's not a hot candidate. People in football, it's weird because in football, if you don't sign the hot candidate, like there's a guy, Nate Schilhaas from the Rams, who's getting head coaching interviews. That guy looks like he's 12 years old. He's very young. And this Grant Udinsky guy's 30 years old. He might be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns at 30. We have no idea if they could be head coaches or not. But the fact that they're young and hot, it's a weird thing. It's almost like it's Hollywood. You need hot young starlets over here. We need hot youngsters. We need fresh faces. Hollywood always wants the fresh face, somebody new to come in and titillate people. Well, in football, they want the hot young coordinators. Jimmy Leonard and Nate Scheelhaas and Grant Udinsky and these people. And back in the day, Sean McVay and, Shanahan and all that. So I would say no, it wouldn't. Because people are going to look at it like, well, he's been out of football for a year. And same thing with Wink. Well, Wink was with the Wolverines last year, but these people are old. They're not hot candidates. You're not hearing them involved with other teams. And so, no, it would not change that. It would be, oh, here go the Jets again hiring these bums. But I don't think they're bums. I'll tell you that much. I like these names. Now, I don't love what they're doing with Engstrand. I kind of wanted Engstrand to get another shot. But they are, according to the reports, they are keeping Engstrand on staff. So what they may be trying to do is let Reich get the train on the tracks and moving forward. Let us get some wins, have a winning season or something. And then in a year or two, hand it back to Engstrand. Engstrand's very young. So maybe Engstrand needs some seasoning. He needs a little more experience. We make him the pass game coordinator or whatever. Basically Scott Turner's old role. Or maybe he just has a title and maybe Reich is I don't know. We give Reich some sort of title, but he calls the plays. It would be a little unusual, but I don't think so. Because these are not hot names. Yeah, I know where Joe Judge is. I don't think he's coming here. In fact, I believe Joe Judge is going over to LSU, if I'm not mistaken, to follow Lane Kiffin. Or maybe he stayed in Mississippi. I don't know. Weiss, OC, and no, Weiss is not. Who is this Stay Gold person? So Charlie Weiss Jr. is obviously Charlie Weiss Sr.'s son, and he's going to LSU with Lane Kiffin. Oh, that's what you said. Okay. But I think Joe Judge is also going to LSU, or maybe he stayed at Mississippi. I'm not sure. Screw that. I don't want Clint Eastwood. Hot candidates only says, well, quarterback team that hires them. Well, yeah, that's the ironic part, Eddie. It's like it's going to come down to the quarterback anyway. So why not get the steady hand? Now, I don't know what exactly Tanner Engstrand did wrong. The quarterbacks we had didn't pan out, which is what happens to us. They played terrible. And when I say didn't pan out, it's like when you had a perfect pocket and you had open people, you couldn't hit them. We saw the same thing with Zach Wilson. We didn't want him to be Superman. We just needed him to do the basic stuff, and he could not. So I don't think it's a bad idea to get sort of a steady old hand in here, but it's going to come down to the quarterback. It is. On defense, it's going to come down to stacking the defense with as many great players as you can get in here. That's what it's going to come down to. JoJo, Jets would be wise to hire Reich. They definitely need an experienced play caller on offense. Yeah. I kind of like Engstrand, but I also don't mind a guy like Reich. I don't. But I don't think most Jet fans are going to be happy about that one. Yeah, that's true. I mean, but McVay went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, so. But Goff at least is average-ish. Say what you want about Goff, he's steady. He's average-ish. He's not horrible. Yeah, I guess you could say. If you have a horrible quarterback who just can't hit open people from perfect pockets, there's very little that the coordinator can do. But McVay, yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, how do you, now some people will say, well, actually, if you watch the All-22, you can tell, you can actually see the play, you can see how the play call is excellent, and then the quarterback also executes it. So there's two parts of it. You could call the greatest play in the world, and everything's working, and the quarterback just doesn't fucking throw the ball, like we saw with Fields, and we saw late in the season with Brady Cook, and it's more understandable with Cook. He's a UDFA rookie, but it's very frustrating with Justin. Just wouldn't throw the damn ball. Throw the ball. Get rid of it. Um, so you generally this is true, but you can also go to the all 22 and figure out, all right, is it the play or is it the quarterback? If you see the first read is wide open and the quarterback doesn't throw it, what are you going to do as a coach? I designed the play. The first read is wide fucking open, and you refuse to throw it, or you throw it over his head, you throw it behind him. That's the quarterback. So, yes, you need the quarterback to execute the play, but you also need the play to be good and get people open. And so it goes hand in hand. But the quarterback has to execute it. Also, the quarterback is responsible for line shifts usually. If the quarterback doesn't move the line one way or the other and he keeps getting sacked, that's what do you want the coordinator to do? Coordinator gives him the rules. If he doesn't follow the rules or he forgets to tell the guys, all right, slide to the right, bang right, you might say, at the line. Then the blitz comes from the right. I mean, that's not on the coordinator. That's why these quarterbacks, when they're good, make so much money, because a lot of it's on their shoulders. And that's why we've had so much trouble. We can't find that guy. They're hard to find. When you do find them, sometimes they regress, like C.J. Stroud. I mean, look at that guy. Keep it simple. Reich was a senior advisor. He could assume that title to mentor Engstrand. Yeah, but they're saying he's going to call the plays. So that's the weird part. Salami says, yeah, you should just pretend like you're 25. I'm a 25-year-old analytics guy, and then they'll respect you. I'm wishing that we could trade Sherwood to Saleh for a third-round pick. Also, Clemens will sign with the Titans for $10 million per year. Yeah, there's going to be a pipeline between Saleh and San Francisco, that's for sure. I don't know if he wants any of our bums. But hey, if Saleh signs Clemens for $10 million, that's good for us. We could get a comp pick out of it. That's a good thing. I don't think he's going to want to trade for Sherwood. I don't know what the hell the Titans are going to do, to be honest with you, other than that Saleh is going to draft every defensive player possible, sign every defensive player he can possibly get his hands on. But they're in a total rebuild, so do they want Sherwood over a third-round pick? They probably want to keep their picks and build up the team with young talent. That's basically what you do in a rebuild, which they're clearly in. So I don't think he wants Sherwood. But if they sign Clemens, great, wonderful. See ya. Thank you for the comp pick. Thank you for the comp pick. He actually might want Clemens. He might. He might. Spin Max Dave, different subject. Scouts talk about higher low floors or ceilings for jet prospects. Can you clarify these terms as we move toward the draft? Lower high floors? Well, a high floor means you know what you're getting, but it's not that great. A high floor means, well, you're pretty certain he's going to be a certain level, but he's probably not going to be outstanding. So you're getting something decent, and you're confident in it, but you're not going to get something spectacular. A high ceiling means a guy could be spectacular, but usually when they say high ceiling, they also say low floor, meaning it's a high variance prospect who is boom or bust, kind of like Zach Wilson was a boom or bust prospect. If he hits, he's going to be really good. He's going to be elite, but there's a big chance that he's not going to hit and he's going to be terrible instead of being average or decent. So that's what they're talking about. These elite quarterbacks cover up a lot of shitty play calls and bad. Yes, that's true. I agree. The quarterback really probably is more important. And if you can get one that can play the brain game at a high level, that's really important. And I think that's something people don't think about enough. It's great to have the physical talent. You need that. But then the brain game is so much more important. Even just feeling the rush and knowing Should I step up and throw or should I run? Like even that, and that's sort of instinctual, but that comes down to the brain and usually comes down to reps, having banked a ton of reps since you were a kid, if you think about it. But even then, some of these guys still don't have it as but like little things like that, especially if you're a running quarterback, like Lamar knows when to run and when to throw. Now, you could nitpick with Lamar all you want. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He gets injured all the time. He doesn't go as far in the playoffs as you would like. But he is a two-time MVP. So, and when he's on, he's spectacular. Um, so yeah. Yeah, they call it making it right. Even if the play call is dog shit, even if something breaks down, the quarterback usually can make it right. And if you make it right, it makes everybody else's life so much better. So, yeah, I agree. Clemens' value, nothing. But it might be his value to Salah might be $10 million. Reich made, that's what I said earlier, RC. Even with Carson Wentz, he had a top 10 offense in terms of points per game. With Carson Wentz, they had the ninth best points per game in the league, 26.5. Can you imagine us, the Jets, averaging 26.5 points per game? Hello? Hello, McFly. And that was with Carson frickin' Wentz. And he put up all these top 10, by the way, offenses with a new quarterback every single year. That's the other thing I would say in his defense. Every year he had a new quarterback from 2018 to 2021. And he was top 10 3 times out of those 4 years, top 16 all those years, and top 5 once with a new quarterback every single year. So I think that's a pretty good track record, actually. So I don't mind Reich at all. I know that the general Jet public is not going to like that name, and they're going to complain about it. But I don't mind it whatsoever. I personally would have liked to see Engstrand continue on. I thought he did a good enough job calling plays. And he is the first protege of Ben Johnson, let's be honest. But I can also understand Glenn wanting a more senior hand to try to get the train on the tracks here. Joe Mike, Reich has connections to Brissett. Yeah, but Brissett is under contract with the Cardinals, I believe. So Brissett was one of his quarterbacks there in Indy, and that's when they came in 16th. So it was Luck. Let's just look up. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Brissett, because I was looking at him before, because I like Jacoby Brissett a lot. And he's also great in the locker room. Teammates love him, kind of like Tyrod. Yeah, 2026, he's under contract. So he's not we can't get him. Unless they cut him, but we got to see what the hell happens. It might be Mike LaFleur out there in the Cardinals, by the way. It's being reported that Mike LaFleur is the leading candidate for the Cardinals job. Boy, imagine being a Cardinals fan. But at least they've gone to the Super Bowl relatively recently. But still, another terrible franchise. But yeah, he's under contract for next year. Free agent in 27 when he'll be 35 years old. But I really like Jacoby Brissett. I think he's a great bridge type. But they're not getting rid of him, I don't think. He's too valuable. He's very, very valuable as a backup, and if you need him to start, he can do an okay-ish job. So, interestingly, he's self-repped, no agent. Huh. Well, he's made a lot of money as a backup, but yeah, we can't get him, unfortunately. So his quarterbacks were Luck, 5th, Brissett, 16th. Then they got Rivers, 9th, and then Wentz, 9th, and then they got Matt Ryan, who was basically falling apart, and they struggled, and they came in 30th. So that's a pretty good track record in my view. That's a pretty good. A lot of comments coming in here. Imagine the Jets scoring in the top 10. Yeah, it's hard to imagine, right, Eddie? Because we haven't done it since the Fitz era. We came, I think, 15th. That was the last time we had any kind of offense. Yeah, what's his name is one of the worst. David Tepper, one of the worst owners in football, and he's very tempestuous, and he's basically a dick. He's from Pittsburgh, so he's a dick. What do you expect? Like all the Pittsburghers are. But yeah, I mean, he went 1-10 with a rookie quarterback. And remember, Joe Brady was on that staff, and um, and he decided to fire him after going 1-10. So that's not really. I can't fault the guy for going 1-10 for with a rookie quarterback who played as bad as Zach Wilson played as a rookie. So Wink Martindale Pros, coach in Big Ten, knows the talent. His name is Wink. Well, and also his track record of having good defenses. Our D and quarterback play was too poor. Yeah, I agree. Well, it's not going to kill his confidence in himself. If anything, these coaches know that this is kind of what happens. And look, this happened to Ben Johnson in Detroit. So this may be what Aaron Glenn's leaning on. There was a point in time when Ben Johnson was an up-and-comer, but he wasn't ready. And Dan Campbell said, yeah, we got this Ben Johnson guy, but he's not ready. So I'm going to call the plays. And he called the plays for a while. Then the next year, he gave it to Ben Johnson. So this happens. That's probably what Glenn said. Look, you put 1 year under your belt, but we really need to get this train on the track. I need something more certain. So take a little half step back, and in a year or two, take it back. Yeah, it happens. No, I'm not going to be doing any live streaming today. Today's the last day, by the way. It's the last day of significant football because, the Super Bowl's after this, but the Super Bowl is like as we all know, it's more of a spectacle. And, of course, it's just one game and then sort of like 8 months of nothingness as far as football's concerned. So, I mean, we basically have these two games today. Then next week, look, Jim Leonard now looks like much more of a candidate. So I was thinking maybe we would get news about Wink Martindale today or something, that we hired him. But now with Jim Leonard not able to go back to Wisconsin, he's more of a candidate for us. He's a candidate elsewhere as well. Jeremy Fowler is reporting Raiders coaching search should come into focus after Sunday. Multiple league sources consider Seahawks OC Clint Kubiak a prime candidate after a strong first interview. Broncos pass game coordinator Davis Webb, a viable option. Several assistants still playing. Mike LaFleur, Chris Shula, Nate Scheelhaas, and Vance Joseph interviewed virtually with the club. So maybe Clint Kubiak. These Kubiaks are all over the place. In Las Vegas, that's one of those hot young hires. So that's the news there. After today, yeah. What we got is the Super Bowl, but then next week we could talk to Jim Leonard. So the in person. So if we hear that Jim Leonard's coming in person for an interview, well then that's good news, and it'll probably be between Leonard and Martindale for the job. Whereas I think a lot of people expected Leonard to just go to Green Bay, but they hired Jonathan Gannon today. So we'll see. And we did not get, there's no news that we've hired, Martindale. Titans have requested to interview Mike Rutenberg for their DC position. If you remember, Coach Rudy, good coach. He was our linebackers coach with the Jets under Saleh. So Saleh is now getting his coaches. So this is what Saleh does. He just gets the people he's familiar with, and then he goes and gets the players he's familiar with. Might be one of the dumbest coaches in the NFL. But he's tall and handsome and muscular, so He definitely gave that Titans owner all the female fifis. I'm not in Pittsburgh, RC. I'm not. I used to be in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a shithouse place. I moved out of Pittsburgh. I'm in Central Florida, buddy. So Mike McCarthy. So the fans in Pittsburgh don't like the McCarthy hire. We should have. It would have been a good hire for us. It's a good hire for them. Steeler fans don't realize it because Steeler fans are very stupid, and most football fans are very stupid. Not the people in this chat. The people in this chat are definitely above average, but most. So if you look at the resumes of, for example, Mike McCarthy and John Harbaugh, they're exactly the same. It's amazing how the same they are. Yet Giant fans are over the moon about Harbaugh, and Pittsburgh Steeler fans are mad about Mike McCarthy. And the thing about McCarthy, and I would give the edge to McCarthy because he calls the plays. You always want a head coach, if you can get it, to call the plays, because if it works, he cannot be poached. He's the unpoachable coach. So if Harbaugh, now there are exceptions like Monken. Seems like Todd Monken can't get a head coaching job. He's interviewing around, but historically he has trouble getting a head coaching job, so he might be an exception. Like Josh McDaniels might be an exception because he's already tried it twice. Does he really want to go down that road again? So there are exceptions to every rule, of course. But generally speaking, if the OC is calling the plays and it hits and the offense is humming, that OC is going to leave within a year or two and become a head coach because they're going to become a hot candidate, like Clint Kubiak, for example, that we just talked about. So if you're going to have the exact same resume, 18 years, 12 in the playoffs, 60+% winning percentage, 1 Super Bowl, 10+ playoff wins, all of that is true of both Harbaugh and McCarthy. If you're going to have that, then you want to pick the one who calls the plays because he can't be poached. He's the unpoachable coach. But Steeler fans are not happy with McCarthy. They want one of the, because of ageism. We were talking about it earlier, RC. Too many fans are ageist. If it's an older guy, they're not into it. They want a hot young candidate. They want a hot young stud. They want a Grant Udinsky. They want a Nate Shield. They want a Michael LaFleur. They want a Matt LaFleur. They want a Shanahan. They want a McVay. They want a hot young guy. Just like in Hollywood, we need these hot young people to sell these movies. Well, in football, we need a hot young coordinator to become the head coach because we want young. It's weird. I like experience. Now, don't get me wrong. If we got Jim Leonard, I'd be very happy. But I'd also be very happy with Wink. So, winky dink. Say what you want about LaFleur. He had dudes wide open. Yeah, that's what I said back in the day, Eddie, if you remember. A lot of people got mad at me, Eddie. Do you remember this? When I had my old channel, it was basically the same as this channel, but it was very frustrating to be right and have people very mad at me. And I was saying we should not fire Mike LaFleur at all under any circumstance. And everybody came at me with, pitchforks. Do you remember, Eddie? Maybe Eddie remembers. But yeah, I was saying no, we shouldn't fire LaFleur, and under any circumstances. This is all on, not all on Zach, but it was a young quarterback who's struggling, which happens all the time. Look at Bryce Young's first season; it was horrible. I mean, even Cam Ward, who has a lot of promise, it may turn out to be great. We don't know, but look at his year; it's not great. He improved toward the end of the year. There's a lot of optimism there, but yeah, we should. That was a panic move by Saleh, and we don't know if Woody had his hands on it. I don't think Woody ever really liked Robert Saleh, if I tell you the truth. I don't think he did. Joe Mike, did you see the crazy stat that every time Tyrod Taylor, that team gets a franchise quarterback? Oh, that's interesting. Um, well, what are the examples? I mean, the one I can think of is Buffalo. So Tyrod Taylor, give the man credit. I like Tyrod a lot. He's always injured, but he took Buffalo. He broke Buffalo's playoff streak. People think it was Josh Allen. It wasn't. It was the year before Josh Allen. McDermott shows up. He's got Tyrod. And Tyrod takes him to the playoffs. Breaks their 18-year streak. So we only got, what, 14, 15 years? We got a 15-year. They had an 18-year. So we got a ways to go to even catch Buffalo. And, right, well, did he leave that team or did he stay as a backup? But anyway, the next year they drafted Josh Allen and away they go. I forget if did he leave after that? I don't know. But he was also on the Chargers and he was starting there. And then that was when he had the punctured lung. Why he didn't sue that doctor, I have no idea. But he gets a punctured lung and they get Justin Herbert goes in there and lights it up. But he was still on that team. But Tyrod was the starter. Herbert as a top 5 pick, top 6 pick, was on the bench. And then Tyrod punctures lung. And then Herbert goes in there and the rest is history. Then where was he? Baltimore? Was he with Baltimore when Lamar came around? No, because that was Joe Flacco. So I don't know. Look, maybe he'll be a good luck charm. Let's just put it that way. No, that does not give me pause. Because, like I said, these teams want the hot young people. And they're not in the same position we're in. Well, first of all, Duncan, you should not be on Facebook. Anybody who has a Facebook account should get rid of it immediately. That place is garbage. And if you want to say he's a poor man's Vrabel, he's Mike Vrabel, but who loses? So what's the point? And plus, Vrabel's much smarter than Saleh. Are you kidding me? Players love Vrabel. Players like Saleh. The defensive players like Saleh for the most part. But the offensive players probably don't even know who he is. And then special teams is like, who cares? Yeah, well, right. So the exception is if the quarterback gets to a point where he's his own OC, right? But then they had McDaniels for a long time, don't forget, too, RC. So the exception is you want the quarterback to get to a point where they're their own OC. Now, very few, like Matthew Stafford or it's going to be Drake May, watch out for him, man. He's got one problem and one problem only, which is his smallish hands and he fumbles too much. But you want these quarterbacks to get to the place where they're their own OC, like Peyton Manning. You know, you remember him being his own OC. He doesn't really need an OC, Peyton Manning, at a certain point. Same thing with Brady. So if you can get but those are very few and far between. If you can get a quarterback to where they're their own OC and whatever OC comes on is just sort of like a sidekick, then yeah, you can transcend that. But a lot of times the quarterbacks are good or mediocre. Like if you have a mediocre quarterback with a high quality OC or play caller, then they can elevate them to good or really good. But if you're already just an elite talent, the OC. Now the fascinating use case this year is going to be Mike McDaniel with Herbert. If he goes and finalizes that deal to become their OC, I think the Chargers are going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to put a bet down early because that is an elite quarterback who now would have an elite play caller for the first time, and that is a dynamite combo. But yeah, but how many teams are going to have elite quarterbacks? It's very hard to find them. And Brady developed into that. We're still talking about buy the team. Joe Mike, how many times I got to fucking tell you, Woody's not selling. He's not selling for any amount of money. The team's worth, if he wanted to sell, he could probably get $15 billion. These people don't have $15 billion. And even if they did, he's not selling it. Not sure. I mean, come on, Joe Mike. You're better than that. You're better than that, buddy. You're better than that. Still talking about would he sell the team? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Elijah Moore was open all over the place. It's true. True. Jackson. Oh, and plus Jackson Dart. There's another example. Yeah. Well, look, hopefully he'll be our rabbit's foot. I love Tyrod. He's a great dude. Very fashionable dresser. But he gets hurt too much. Gets hurt too much. Saleh got a PR whitewash. Well, this is the thing about Saleh, too. He's a politician. Everybody knows this. This is a known fact within league circles. Talk about your league circles. He's a politician. He's out there politicking. And he keeps the media informed. Like he keeps Country Club Connor Hughes in particular and for our douchebags. He gives him little tidbits of info from time to time. And then, in return, Country Club Connor promotes him whenever it's reasonable to do so. Whenever the 49ers would have a great defensive game, Country Club would put out tweets to Robert Saleh is such a genius and all this. And that's what he does. That's what politicians do. They keep the media fed and happy, and then the media does them a solid. That's the thing that Aaron Glenn didn't understand. If you fight with the media, the guiding principle for the Jets should be you never pick a fight with a person who buys ink by the barrelful. Just don't do it. They can kill you. They're killing Aaron Glenn right now. They're character assassinating him. It's the saddest thing. And it's his own doing. It's because he chose a media strategy that was bound to fail. You cannot win these fights with these people. They will come at you and come at you. You might win today, but they are playing the long game. And they all stick together. That's the other thing. You attack one of them, you say, ask Rich. You want to do that bullshit? They're all going to attack you. Not just Rich. He's going to attack you, of course. And they're going to do it in all kind of ways. They got every trick in the fucking book. And they get to put out information and tweets and articles and videos every day. You don't get to. You're busy coaching a team. Every day they do content. Every day, every hour, they can put out something new and they can character assassinate you. And the fans, most of them are, they're easily brainwashed. That's why everybody needs to read Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky, which is up here in the ticker. Why do you think I haven't taken out Noam Chomsky from the ticker? The most important book of our lifetimes is $10 on Amazon. And nobody wants to fucking read it. And if you're a head coach of a football team, you might think your job is football. Well, most of it is. But a big part of your job is media. So if I were Eric Gelfand, first thing I would hand a new head coach is that book and say, read this. Why do I have to read this? What is this? This is about the media. Yeah, your job is the media. You're going to be 4 times a week during the season. You're going to be in front of these media jackals. You better know what their purpose is. You have to understand it from their point of view, what they're trying to do, what their editors are telling them to do, what their publishers are telling them to do. Who owns these media conglomerates? The New York Times is owned 43% by Carlos Slim. If you think that's a good guy, I got news for you. As an example. And so you need to read that book so you understand where they're coming from, and then you can create a strategy that's going to actually work instead of what he did. I'm going to be combative against the media. You better have a track record if you do that. You have no track record whatsoever. You've been a DC and a defensive coach, with a good track record as a DC and a beloved Jet player. That's not going to get you far. It got him about 3 or 4 months of goodwill in the media. That's about it. And with the fans, therefore. As soon as he started losing, Zach Rosenblatt put out the tweet, "The honeymoon's over," which told you character assassination starts now. I mean, he announced it. He basically fucking announced it. We are now going to kill Aaron Glenn kill his character. Because in media, you can't shoot people in the head like you do with the CIA and shit like that. Back into the right. But that's how it works. And you want to be prickly. You want to not tell them anything. Like I think you should not tell them anything. But then you are going to be attacked. It's just a different kind of attack. Be amiable, but just don't say anything. All right. Then they're gonna attack you anyway. So it's like you have to figure out how you want them to attack you and what is the least damaging. They're going to damage you. That's part of what they do. It's their whole fucking job. So it's just sad, but it's preventable. And I will give Sala this: if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna engage. Like, I think Sala says too fucking much. He puts his foot in his mouth all the time, constantly. And if he would just shut up and stop talking, that could solve a lot of the problems he's had with the media. But if you're going to err on one side or the other, probably the way Sala goes, amiable, gives them long answers, feeds them information via text message every now and then to give them little tidbits that they can report out. It's probably the better strategy if you're going to, rather than being antagonistic. So, and you see how the media treats him, kid gloves. And then how they treat AG, punch in the face. Yeah, everybody thinks this, Eddie. It was because of the owner. The owner's a tiny little scaredy cat woman. Has no idea what she's doing. Talk about Nepo babies. Amy Adams shrunk. Honey, I shrunk the owner. McDaniel, yeah, he may be a head coach at 27 or 28. Well, Duncan, we don't know. We don't even know who the fucking coach is. How do I know? Yeah, I mean, Salah must really laugh to himself and say, holy cow, these people really bought what I was selling? Hot take, Mike McDaniel will be the Jets with 3 first-round pick and his choice of quarterback to pick. No, I don't think so. I mean, unless we wind up, because any college quarterback is a risk. Even Arch, even anybody, you never know. It's such a big jump from college. So if he goes anywhere, why wouldn't he go somewhere with a solid quarterback in place? First of all, I think personally for McDaniel, I think being an OC for the Chargers is perfect, actually. Now, these guys, they want to be HCs. There's a big difference in money, so it's hard to say. But I think the perfect situation for McDaniels is being the OC for the Chargers. He's got an elite level quarterback. And if you know his background, he's an alcoholic. Let's just be honest. And if you know any alcoholics, you know that they're never not an alcoholic. He was, and why do I say that? He was in treatment. He was in treatment 2 different times. He had to go into one of those treatment places. And it's not a bad thing. But think about the stress and pressure. I mean, I'm not saying that to bang on the guy, but that's what he was, and that's what he is. So if he wants to stay sober, why take the pressure of being a head coach, which can drive you to drink, okay? Drive anyone to drink. When you could be an OC, make really good money, stay in California where the weather's nice and his wife is from California. Stay in California, around family, have way less pressure, and stick with an elite quarterback, Justin Herbert, win a bunch of Super Bowls, and just be happy. Now, he's going to come to the Jets with our shit show. I mean, he'll be back in the freaking treatment center in no time. You think Woody wouldn't drive that man to drink? Give me a break. So, I mean, that's just me being logical. It's a weird world, and he does seem to be interested in head coaching opportunities, some of them. But I don't know. If I were him with his particular circumstance, you made a ton of money being the HC in Miami, and he's still got that money coming to him, by the way. So he's going to be making double up salaries next couple of years. I mean, just stay in California with Herbert and win Super Bowls and go meet with the press one time a week instead of four times, and don't have all the pressure of being a head coach. That's what I would do. RC says if we get Reich, you will see a significant turnaround. Well, RC, it's going to depend on who the quarterback is. But I like the optimism. Like the optimism. Well, it's because they're anticipating he's going to put up um, big numbers next year. So let's look at Arch Manning. He could stay in school for sure, but if he wins the high, let's say he has a year like Mendoza had this year, wins the Heisman. That team is loaded, by the way. He is it says here redshirt junior, so maybe he has next year and another year, but people are anticipating him having a really big year next year. Yeah, he's already oh, that's high school. Where's the college? 23, 24, 25. Yeah, if he puts up another year, so he has 15 game starts so far. You know, he's going to put up another 15 next year. That'll be 30, so he clears that bar. And if he puts up a huge year and he's the Heisman, he basically has a year like Mendoza has, he's going to come out probably. Now, if he struggles and it doesn't go as planned, then he'll go back probably. But and he's only 21, so he's a redshirt junior, age 21. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. But that's why, because they anticipate him playing really well. And Texas is loaded with talent this year. All of the preseason ranking, all of the rankings of how they did in the portal and how they did in recruiting, he should have a loaded team. Like they should be in the playoff and they should be considered a favorite. Now, it's January, and in college football, a lot changes from when they start playing the games. But all the people who project out, how much talent do they have on the team? He's supposed to have a very loaded team, and he should play better. You would think, and that's why. But he could certainly go back in 20 in the next year. But I would think next year would be the perfect year for him if things go as he would want them to go. Yeah, right. I mean, we couldn't even get Adam Gase to the press conference without him doing whatever kind of drugs he was on. I mean, McDaniels would definitely be driven to drink if he was here. So I don't really see that. Meadowland Swamp Thing, he's a member. Good to see Meadowland Swamp Thing here. And you can be a member too of the Inner Circle. You get exclusive write ups, you get college quarterback grades, you get lots of things. Click the join button down below. But other than that, that's where we are as far as the news goes. So let me know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about. Otherwise, we'll cut it short. There's nothing else coming out today. Today is the last day where we get multiple NFL games for the season. I'm just checking my feeds here. Well, it doesn't look like much is going on. It'll be some interesting games today. I think Denver has a better chance than people think. But, without with the backup quarterback in there, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Um, but a lot of people do like Jared Stidham as a quarterback. He's never really gotten a chance to show what he could do. Always been a backup. Well, Adam Gase, I mean, that was the one time we went offense and experienced, and it turned into a disaster. You think about it. We always go defense and first time coach because that's the best we can do. The one time we went offense and experience, he is an experienced head coach, and we went offense, and he was endorsed by Peyton Manning, and it was a total disaster. I mean, for God's sakes. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm not employed in NFL or football circles, so therefore that's very unlikely. I'll play my role here at FSPN, keeping you people informed with the real information, although it's very hard to compete with both the mainstream media and a lot of the alternative media, which is bullshit too, like the Badlands dummies. A lot of you, if you're a Badlands subscriber, I would say you should probably get about 100 of your for your friends who are also Badlands subscribers and go to Joe Trasheroso and say, Joe, part of the problem that we have with the Jets is the reputation of this franchise. And a big part of that is recently it was an article written by Zach Rosenblatt and Dirty Diana Rossini. And this was an article that was based on 30 sources they claimed that were all disgruntled and people that we had fired recently. Is that really fair to put out an article about the Jets where you talk to people who got fired by the Jets? How do you think they're going to think about the Jets? We just fired them. Yet they put out this article, and that was the one where it was Brick and the Madden ratings and all of that. And so that article did significant reputational damage to the Jets. Okay, well, that's what the media does. What does this have to do with Badlands? Well, Badlands has Zach Rosenblatt on the payroll. Joe Trasheroso is paying Zach Rosenblather to be there, and he's part of the problem with the Jets. You see? And so what you should do is go to Joe Trasheroso and say, Joe, we're all gonna stop our membership unless you fire Rosenblatt and get him the fuck out of here, because he's part of the problem. Like, why do you have the enemy on the payroll? Doesn't make any sense. But would people do that? I don't know. People are just like, whatever. You got to identify your enemies and then take them out. I mean, that's how it works. Otherwise, they're just going to keep beating you over the head like a drum. All right, just checking any last minute news while we're on the air. Honor Hughes, nothing new about that. Gary Gnu Myers also has me blocked because I called him out for being a biased shill, which he is. He loves him some Giants. Hates the Jets. Jets hater. College football, Jet beat writers. Yeah. The Jet beat writers are all asleep. None of them ever said anything today at all, except for Connor Hughes last night. Very strange, very strange. RPM, I think the Broncos have a chance too. May has many turnovers. Yeah, he's got to limit those turnovers. It's almost all fumbles. The main problem with May is his fumbleitis. And he does have small hands. I think he's going to continue to have that issue. That's probably the one Achilles heel that kid has, really. But yeah, if he limits those, then probably okay for the Patriots. And then it comes down to how good Stiddy is. Yeah, well, yeah, silent influence. And if I could improve the reporting in any way, shape, or form, I'm happy to do that. So we'll see. Hi, Karate. Good luck to Sammy Darnold. Yeah. Am I wrong for wanting to see Darnold? Yeah, you can want whatever you want. Sam Darnold didn't do anything wrong when he was here, except he was a very bad quarterback. So, he hit the magical age of 27, and all of a sudden he was a good quarterback. I keep telling you guys about the age 27 theory. The average human male brain doesn't finish developing until age 26. And quarterback, which is a brain primary position, uh, a lot of these guys either get better or get good at age 27, 26, 27, that type of age. That's basically what happened with Darnold. He was very bad when he was here. There's no two ways about it. He also didn't have great situation around him. We didn't have offensive line. We didn't have receivers. It's amazing how shittily we built the team. But he goes to Carolina, still bad. Goes to 49ers, backup. And then he goes to the Vikings. He was supposed to be a backup for J.J. McCarthy, and J.J. McCarthy gets hurt. He plays, and boom, he has a big breakout year, age 27. And then he gets a big contract with Seattle, and he's played very well this year. So sometimes it takes time. Sometimes now, some people get to age 27 and they still stink. Like that's what I was kind of hoping with Justin Fields, but did not work that way. So it's not ironclad that hey, you get to 27 and now you're all of a sudden good. No, but probably if a guy is 27 and he still stinks, it's probably okay, time to pull the plug. But the problem is the teams can't wait that long. If you draft a guy, he's going to be 22, 23. That's too long to wait. You're not going to. So he's got to bounce around the league a little bit, and then somebody gives him a chance, and bada bing, bada boom. But it's just like a rule of thumb. It's not really a hard and fast rule. Yeah. Sammy did everything we asked him to do. He never said a bad word. He never badmouthed the Jets even after he left, and people have given him plenty of opportunity to badmouth the Jets. And what he has said is about his time with the Jets, he said, you know what? When I was with the Jets, I just wasn't good enough at that time. I wasn't. I needed to be better. I wasn't, and we didn't have a success. That's what he said. I mean, how can you fault a guy? How can you not like a guy like that? That's called taking accountability. And it wasn't all his fault, but a lot of it was. But but it wasn't all his fault. We didn't protect him. We didn't get him playmakers. We built the shitty team. Eddie says, "Oh, for the love of God, go Broncos." Well, you're a Patriot hater, I guess. And one thing that's unique about me, I don't really hate the Patriots, I don't hate the Bills, and I don't hate the Dolphins. I don't want them to win usually if it has any effect on us. But if you look at it a certain way, you should want the Patriots to win. What? What do you mean? That's one of our rivals. Yeah. But even if they go and win the Super Bowl, does that really have anything to do with the Jets? Okay, they got their 7th Super Bowl. What does that have to do with the Jets? Except now they have a worse draft pick. I mean, really, it really has no effect whether they have 7, 8, 10. Who cares? We would like to get to a place where our team is good and fighting for the playoffs and Super Bowls. It really has nothing to do with the Patriots or the Bills or the Dolphins or anybody else, really. But if the further they go in the playoffs, the worse their draft pick is. So there is that. Go see chickens. I would like to see Sam win. Definitely don't want New England to win another Super Bowl. Not Fields. Yeah, it didn't work for Fields. So not a perfect theory, but I cannot root for division rival. Well, I'm not saying I'm rooting for them. That's the other thing. I'll just watch a game and see what happens. I don't have a rooting interest in Denver, New England. What's the rooting interest? I just want to watch football. I'm a football fan. I like football. Same thing with the other game. I'm not rooting for anybody. Has no impact on us. Like, this year I was rooting against the Colts. Why? Because that first round pick was important for the Jets. It moved all the way from 32 when we traded for it to 16. That's a big deal. So yeah, I was rooting against the Colts for that, but otherwise I don't really have any rooting interest except what's going to benefit the Jets or not benefit the Jets. One last check of Connor Hughes. Nah, nothing. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. So today's the last day. It's championship day. When did Baker turn it around? Yeah. Well, Baker was a little bit of an outlier. Baker was kind of good for the Browns. Remember, he made the playoffs. If you look at Baker Mayfield, I guess if you want to say the breakout was with Tampa, say 28. There you go. You might say he started to break out with the Rams. If you remember, he went over to the Rams and he had 3 days notice and all that. Remember that? Then the next year, guess what? Age 28. So right around 27. He had, if you want to say he broke out with Tampa, first 4,000-yard season. Then he put another 4,500-yard season together. 28. So right around the age. But he had some good seasons with the Browns, including his rookie year. He had a surprisingly good year as a rookie. Too many picks. Second year, too many picks. I mean, his problem has always been interceptions. But third year, I mean, he had some decent years with the Browns. Really should have just kept him. That's what they should have done. The problem was never Baker Mayfield, although, yeah, you think about it. If you look at completion percentage, if you look at that as sort of like a shorthand way of is the quarterback being efficient, his high was 63.8. Then he went 59.4, 62.8, 60.5. So it looked like he was going down, but he was also injured that year. And then they got rid of him, and then he was at 60%. And then Tampa comes along, and all of a sudden at age 28, 64.3 career high. Then he does 71.4. His best year was 24, 4,500 yards, 41 touches. He had an incredible year. 4,500 yards, 71.4 completion percentage. Did throw 16 picks, but 41 touchdowns. And an Anya of 7.13, highest of his career. That's Anya is the key stat, really. And then this year, he was sort of up and down. He was really great for a while. Then he fell off when he got injured. He had an oblique injury. So there you go. 28. Fits my theory. Fits my theory like a glove. I don't see Zach Wilson getting better either. No, Zach could get better. I think he could. He's still young. I think he could. He hasn't gotten a chance. He didn't get a chance in Denver or Miami. They went with Quinn Ewers. But he's 26 now. He's just turning 27. So if Zach Wilson turns it around, my age 27 theory will get very solidified. Because he has no signs in any of his stats that he's any good. But it'll be interesting to see what Zach Wilson gets in the offseason. He got a 1-year, $6 million deal with Miami, and then at the end of the year, when they decided it wasn't Tua, they went with Quinn Ewers to see what they had. They bypassed Zachy Poo. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody will give him a chance. Somebody will sign him for something to be a QB3, probably. But if through injury or whatever he gets a chance to play, he is turning 27 next year. So Frankie's age 27 theory will get the test. That would be interesting. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. He may be one of the last people to sign. He may have to take like a 1-year, $3 million deal. Which for him, hey, you do what you can. Ken Green says, I hate them all. Well, hate is something that'll eat you alive, my friend. You might not want to hate so much, and you may want to watch football game for the enjoyment of the football game. American football is the greatest sport ever invented in the history of mankind, and I am not apologetic when I say that. I don't care about soccer. I don't care about basketball, too dribbly, and I don't care even about baseball. Baseball is a great game to play, probably second best, but as a TV game, a spectator sport, it's just too boring and slow. Football is where it's at. And if you just let go of your hate and just watch the game for the beauty of it, the strategy, the violence, the athleticism these dudes play with, I think it makes for a much better watching experience, but that's just me. Wasn't Baker older than Sam? I don't know. I lost Baker. But it doesn't matter. Age 27 theory in effect. Yeah, 4,500 yards would be a dream here. By the way, one of the people I proposed in my video as a backup named Sam Howell. People would recoil in horror if we signed Sam Howell, right? Most Jet fans. Sam Howell had a year where he threw for 3,947 yards. Would be the second best season the Jets have ever had. Mayfield has heart. He's got moxie. Yeah, I like the way he plays. Very passionate dude. I think the key is that guys are rarely good for multiple consecutive years prior to 27. Yeah, right. Like, for example, in my thing, like Matt Stafford was good before age 27. After 27, he became excellent. So some guys figure it out and kind of like become good, serviceable. Other guys were okay before that, but then 27 comes and then they take it to a whole nother level. No, I disagree with you, RC. I was a baseball player my whole life. Baseball is not more cerebral, except for maybe pitch sequencing. But even pitch sequencing, I mean, what's the big great strategy in baseball? When to bunt? And guys don't bunt anymore. When to steal a base? Guys don't steal anymore. Baseball is absolutely not more cerebral, except for starting pitching, which I was a starting pitcher. So I disagree with that one. Yeah, there you go. RPM agrees with me. The Gladiator games. Zach Wilson will be the next Shanahan project. Well, Jones has a contract this year. I don't know. If I were Shanahan, I would just extend Mac Jones. That's the perfect backup for me, for Shanahan. No real reason to take on. I mean, maybe Zach Wilson has a third, maybe that's the spot for Zach, actually. If you think about it, those were the two guys he loved in the draft. Maybe just sign Zach Wilson for a $4 million QB3 deal. And Wilson would go, hey, yeah, I can learn under Shanahan. I can learn under Purdy and Jones. Maybe that's the spot for him. Hockey is the best? Come on, B-Trev. People on skates? What are we talking about? People skating around with sticks? Come on. Yeah. Well, he was always less accurate than people thought, but he put up good stats because of yak, and so people got fooled actually. But his stats looked good. I don't know. All right, so that'll do it for today. Thanks for joining everybody. I don't see Willis going to the Jets, Frankie. Okay, well, I've made that case a million times. I think it's the best place for him. He might not, though. He might want to go someplace else. So that'll do it for today. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoy the football later in the day. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel. Click the like button, give a thumbs up, and consider joining the Inner Circle where we talk about in-depth items. You get college coaching college quarterback grades for all these college kids, as well as other draft guides. I'll buy the draft guides and put them up for you guys. That's one of the things you're going to get this year for all the new members who came in during this live stream. Multiple draft guides. So don't go ahead and buy. If you're a member of this channel, don't go and buy Brugler's draft guide or any other draft guide. I'll buy them for you and put them up in a folder so you can access it for free. So your $2 a month is going to pay for itself, basically, because those draft guides are expensive, some of them. And I'll buy them because I'm going to buy them anyway, and then I'll just share them with you guys, and you could look at all the official draft guides. Brugler, the PFF one, that's 2 for sure, and then I might buy a couple others as well. And then those are resources that you will have for being a member of this channel. That being said, I'll see you guys next time.